and the fact that they are now about to ramp up sweeps, or at least that's what they say, over in these areas. Take a look.
Coming weeks, an increase in homeless camp sweeps is expected in a number of Bay Area cities.
They're now permitted to take place after a federal judge denied a request to block those sweeps. KTVU's Bailey O'Carroll went to one of those encampments expected to be removed. All right, Bailey, what did they tell you?
Yeah, Mike and Christina.
We can do a TikToker complaining segment next time. Next time, Fi Brown.
Of course, those residents aren't necessarily happy with that decision. They say at this point there is just nowhere for them to go. And they say sweeps like this don't actually do anything to permanently solve the homeless crisis.
There's nowhere for any of us to go. I mean, every part of the city, someone's getting thrown out of it somewhere else.
Over the next month, a wave of homeless encampments will be cleared out in San Francisco and Oakland.
That looked like Mad Max. That literally looked like Mad Max. That's crazy.
Last month, the Supreme Court ruled that enforcing rules against unhoused residents sleeping outside does not violate the Eighth Amendment's cruel and unusual punishment clause, though residents and homeless outreach service centers like the Coalition of Homelessness pushed back.
In the face and flying in the face of every public health.
It's always somebody who you can't even tell whether or not they're a girl or a boy or what they identify as, that is in a room with a fan on them and some papers hanging over their head, may even be recording this in the bathroom, that's sitting there telling you what's best for the city, even though homelessness is running rampant over there in Oakland and San Francisco and all across the West Coast, to be honest with you, frankly. It's always somebody who got a hairstyle that you can't tell what they identify as that's going to sit there and have this conversation with you and debate with you about it. Some young liberal that's 26 years old is going to say, hey, shut the hell up, bro.
Study and academic research paper that has come out of, any major institution that shows how to solve homelessness does not point in any direction to increase
Man, iron your collars before you talk to me, bro.
criminalization.
Just yesterday, a U.S. federal judge denied residents' request to block the sweep, so encampments like this one at the Toll Plaza Beach in Oakland will be cleared out starting as soon as next Tuesday.
You can't have that, bro. You cannot have that. Listen, I don't know if they need to create a hamster dam. How many of y'all are familiar with Amsterdam? Y'all know what Amsterdam? Amsterdam. I got them blues. I got them reds. Some of y'all not familiar with Amsterdam. Let me tell you what Amsterdam is. Amsterdam was, it was basically in an encampment in the wire that they allowed for everybody to do whatever it is that they wanted to do when they wanted to do it, as long as it was contained within a certain square mile in the wire in Baltimore. It was called Amsterdam. It was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be called New Amsterdam or something like that, but they didn't know how to pronounce it. Amsterdam. And so in order to keep the rest of the city safe and to get all of the drug dealers off of the corner and stuff like that, what they did was they created an environment where they had a whole bunch of vacant houses and buildings and stuff where basically people was over there doing whatever it is that they want. They can go and get them some dome. They can go pay for some box. They can go get them some blues, some reds. And it was called Amsterdam. Now, unless you're creating a Amsterdam, you can't have this type of nonsense just in all places. You can just park on the side of the road, get you a old expedition, park on the beach, bother all of the residents, mess up all of the tourism in the city. You can't just mess up the money like that. You can't mess up the money like that. So now this is the situation that we're in.
For people like Michael Perillo, they said they don't know where to go next.
It all comes down
Y'all
to
watch The Wire.
housing. Most of these people are living in their RVs or motorhomes or everything because they just can't afford the rent of apartments anymore.
San Francisco will follow suit. During the mayoral debate on Thursday, San Francisco Mayor
This mayor right here is amongst the worst mayors in America. She sit there and she championed the alphabet community while her city continues to fall apart. It largely inherited from Gavin Newsom.
Breed said aggressive sweeps will start next month. In a statement sent to KTVU, the mayor's office said, San Francisco is a city that prioritizes compassion and we will continue to lead with services. But we cannot allow for people to refuse services and shelter when offered and available. They went on to say our goal is to bring people indoors. Camping or living in our streets isn't safe for our community, residents, and people in need of support. Perillo, who has never been to an overnight shelter because he wants to save bed space for older unhoused residents, said more resources aren't needed, but rather the ones in use need to be better managed.
Most of us don't want to see people hurt or oppressed in the streets. Most of us do not want our veterans laying out in the streets. Like, we're Americans. We have pretty common values and core fundamental beliefs. So what it all comes down to is that our country's being mismanaged.
That's insane. But that's not as worse. That's not as bad as this, ladies and gentlemen. A man in the Bay Area went to the hospital and he wound up dying because he had to wait too long. They say upwards of almost 8 hours to ultimately be seen by a doctor. Check it out.
Tonight, we investigate Kaiser Hospital, specifically the response time during a health emergency. Minutes can be the difference between life and death.
A Vallejo man died after spending more than 8 hours in the ER waiting for treatment. Now the family is blaming Kaiser. Let's bring in investigative reporter Hilda Gutierrez. Hilda.
Our investigative unit found the patient's death motivated a federal and state investigation into Kaiser Vallejo's operations. And we learned that some nurses at the hospital who say the facility was frequently overcrowded and understaffed had been warning management those conditions could turn deadly just days before his death. It's where we're rushed by ambulance during a medical emergency. But 53-year-old Francisco Delgadillo drove himself to the ER at Kaiser Vallejo last December with severe chest pain. He arrived at 3:44 p.m. His wife and sons met him in the lobby.
He kept insisting to get checked because every second, every instant, every minute that went by, the pain was getting stronger.
Delgadillo's medical records show emergency room staff perform an EKG, blood work, and checked his vitals within minutes of his arrival and assigned him a level 2 priority. And the waiting began.
There was a lot of people in the waiting room, to be honest. None of them seemed like they were as distressed as my father was.
Francisco's family says the minutes turned into hours as the father of 4 held on to ticket number 29, the number he was assigned.
He was holding tight on his shirt where his heart was. He was like struggling to sit on the chair. He kept moving around. He was laying down on the floor.
In an act of desperation, a state report indicates the family called 911 from the emergency room. But when paramedics arrived, they said there was nothing they could do since they were already at a hospital.
I turned around and that's when my husband fell to his knees and went out on the floor.
Delgadillo's medical record shows it was around 11:30 p.m., 8 hours after he arrived, when he collapsed in the lobby and died of cardiac arrest around midnight. His family says he was just 5 numbers away from his turn.
That's crazy.
I went crazy, yelling at all the doctors, kicking the trash cans, throwing water bottles.
Hospital staff say just a month prior, in an in-person meeting, they warned management something like this could happen. Just 3 days before Delgadillo died, ER nurses say they also circulated this petition demanding safe staffing levels.
It wasn't sufficient. It wasn't enough.
Raquel Benito is the union representative for Kaiser Vallejo's emergency room nurses.
When we're surging in winter surges, we need way more staff than that to be able to adequately care for patients.
Benito says the ER was operating with 6 nurses, less than half of the 14 the union says they need. And 8 to 12-hour waits were not unusual.
Who can we blame here? Is it really the hospital? Is it the nurses?
Oh, them pants is tight. I don't know if that dude got a yeast infection or if that's one of them kangaroo pooches that the women be having. That shirt is tight. Them pants is tight. You need to get a bigger set of pants, big dog.
Is it a combination? What do you think happened here?
It's not the nurses. It's not the physicians. It's the leadership at Kaiser. That's a historically underserved, understaffed, undermanned emergency department.
The Delgadillo family, through attorney Jeff Mitchell, has entered arbitration with Kaiser, accusing the hospital of medical negligence. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and California's Department of Public Health launched an investigation into Kaiser Vallejo's emergency department and found 8 federal deficiencies, including problems in their emergency and nursing services, according to the report. The investigation revealed the following findings.
Oh, y'all are wild in the chat right now. I hate this show. I hate doing this show. This is the most unproductive, non-serious show on a serious conversation. Hey, I'm not watching the chat no more. I'm not watching the chat. Oh man, y'all are wild. Oh, Jesus. I tried to just get on past it. Oh, dog, they did not have to show him like that. They did him dirty. They did him dirty. They did that man dirty. There's no reason. I don't love y'all. I hate y'all. I hate y'all. They did him dirty, Fly Girl Candy. It ain't no reason why the cameraman should have had him in that lens, and then they gonna zoom in on the next one. Oh, they're gonna get mad at me in the chat when I clip this up, but whatever. Let's finish the story. Let's get this done.
According to the report, the investigation revealed the following findings about that night. The ER was described as crazy busy with 30 to 40 patients, but no nurse in lobby to reassess them. The governing body failed to maintain adequate staff and did not follow policy and procedures.
Listen, ultimately what this comes down to is that because y'all don't have enough funding and the hospital don't make enough money, they can't pay the staff, which then this is the doom loop. This is the death loop that happens inside of this, because this doesn't happen inside of other communities that are more, thriving, and inside of other thriving communities. And so, yes, the hospital is responsible for making sure that they have more nurses and stuff like that on staff. But when you are in these desperate communities, this is one of the reasons why you want to make sure that you pour resources into the community, and you be a good business leader, and you put more staffing and stuff like this. And ultimately, it's going to fall on the shoulders of the hospital of why he wasn't seen in the first place because of negligence. But it's a reason why they have only 6 nurses on staff. It's just the facts. Anyways,